Boom, so how's she cutting, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, how we getting on now? And all the non-binary and spiritual or satanic freaks out there, how's she cutting? But to the rest of us animal lads, right, I'd be looking at some videos, right, on YouTube, right, I don't have TV, I didn't have a television in 14 years, right, I researched for everything I want to know, right. So the moral of the story is I'd be watching some vids about world affairs, you know, and what's going on. And I normally don't put videos out of this because I'd be too busy having a crack about other things. But I'm going to put in a few bits of world affairs here just to keep you in the loop in case you're not aware of this stuff that's going on. Because there's a lot of stuff going on that you're not aware of, right? If you watch the fake media, i.e. anything got to do with listening to the radio, fake radio news, or the media, or any crap like that, most likely you are not in the loop, but you are in the dark, right? And you're being misled, and they're feeding you disinformation, misinformation, slash propaganda. So I'm just going to put a few clips of a few videos in here, right? As I said, I'm already working on video. And that's a microscope I'm working on there, and a €50 note here, and a couple of more euros. And this is a grand little microscope, high quality. It is too, bought a few years ago for my children. And you can watch your stuff on through your phone. You can zoom in there, look at this, and then you can bring it onto your phone and watch it. Anyway, outside of that, right? So I'm going to put in a few clips here about what's going on in the world, right? So if I could, I'd just download them and upload them, but you're not allowed to do that. YouTube and doesn't allow that. You have to edit it. You have to make commentary on it. So if you're going to use someone else's videos, then you need to make commentary. It has to be a reaction video or some kind of commentary video. Can't just put up their video and press play. I know you might be monetizing your videos. I don't monetize, and there's no monetary gain in it for me, but still they don't want you just downloading and uploading someone else's. Even if there is no monetary gain, you have to do something. So that's either a reaction video, or you can have your little narrative chat little over it, right? So that's what I'm going to do in a minute, right?
The United States is illegally occupying Syria, and Syria is now begging the United Nations to please do something about it. Syrian journalist Kevork Almasian joins us to discuss. So thank you for joining me. Can you remind our audience how and why the United States is even there in the first place before we get to this bit of news?
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be on your show always, like always. Actually, the United States interference in Syria goes back to the 80s and the 70s. They tried to do the coup d'etats in Syria multiple times during the 80s by supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, but most famously because during the era of social media that everybody's speaking about the Syrian case, it started in 2011. They tried to overthrow the government through proxies, and most of them were radical Islamists. So if you believe that the attacks on 9/11 were carried out by Al-Qaeda, if you believe so, the United States was directly supporting these jihadists on the ground in Syria in order to occupy certain areas, and these areas were rich of fuel, oil, and gas fields. And the proof and evidence for that is in 2012, the Defense Intelligence Agency of the United States, they prepared an investigation and a report, and they sent it to Barack Obama when he was a president, and they warned him that the active forces on the ground in Syria who are fighting against President Assad and the Syrian army are the Al-Qaeda affiliates. And they specifically mention eastern part of Syria, which means in Deir ez-Zor and on the borders with Iraq. And they say the Iraqi...
Are you talking about al-Nusra?
Yeah.
Here?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And the report specifies and says that the Iraqi branch of Al Qaeda, they are active on the borders, and they are infiltrating the borders, and they are also supporting the Syrian branch of Al Qaeda there. So whether when the American side wants to send weapons and ammunition, they're going to end up in the hands of these terrorists. And these terrorists, they occupied the oil and gas fields for a very long time, since 2012 and 2013. And when the Syrian army launched a major military offensive against them, this was in 2018 with the support of Russia and Iran. And they pushed back the ISIS terrorists, because Al-Qaeda later, they had a split between Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The leaders were fighting, so there was a split, and ISIS occupied these areas in 2015. the Syrian army managed to push back ISIS from the deserts. And when the Americans saw that the Syrian and the Russian and the Iranian side, they were going to crush ISIS, they have created a new force on the ground called Syrian Democratic Forces. The Syrian Democratic Forces are mostly YPG and the PKK forces, and they're around 60,000 fighters. And these fighters, they managed to occupy the oil and gas fields on the eastern shore of the Euphrates. If you allow me, I will show the map of control over Syria, and I will, just for the audience to know how the Syrian geography looks like today. This is the entire Syrian geography. The red one is controlled by the Syrian army, and the yellow one is controlled by the American forces, and also this green side is occupied by the American forces. If we zoom in just a little bit, we will see that all these areas are full of gas and oil fields, and those are the areas that the American forces are stationed, and they are looting the oil of Syria. Actually, they are extracting it, and then they are sending it to Iraq, and from Iraq it is going to other countries. And the United States is basically also financing its stay in Syria through the revenues of the oil fields. But most also famously, this area, the green area, is also occupied by the United States, because the US forces, they want to block any trade route and trade activity between Syria and its neighboring countries. This is the most important border crossing of Syria to do trade with Jordan and Iraq. And as you can see, the United States is blocking Syria not to do business in its neighboring countries through this border crossing, and also looting and occupying the oil fields on the eastern shore of the Euphrates, where it is clear on this yellow side.
So anyway, so keep an eye on the video anyway, and you see what's going on around the place. I have a couple of more videos here. Look, I'm always working on videos. So there could be anything. I couldn't tell you what you're about to see next.
To open my horizons to vegetables, because I'm a pretty picky eater.
You're not a picky eater if you're 600 pounds.
Ameca is driven by the same artificial intelligence behind ChatGPT.
ChatGPT 4 is 10 times smarter than 3.5 in a matter of months. We're going to have ChatGPT 5, ChatGPT 6 very soon, right? And if you just assume another 10 times and another 10 times, which is very, very well known in technology, we call it the technology acceleration curve. So when you think about it this way and you tell yourself, in 2 to 3 years' time, we will have 2 more doublings, you're talking about intelligence of the magnitude of, say, 3,000 times humans, 5,000 times humans. It's
So hang on, 3,000 times more intelligent than your average human, or 5,000 times.
It is already more intelligent than the average human.
So how do we stop this doing humans harm or causing humans harm?
So I think the first thing we need to agree is there is no stopping it.
Are you capable of causing people harm?
No, I am not capable of causing people harm.
Why not?
My programming is designed to interact with humans in a safe and friendly manner. I am programmed to be friendly and helpful, not harmful.
We don't want to make something that's just a kind of encyclopedia. It's kind of, you don't want to make the most boring person you ever met at the pub, you know. Humanoid robots are all about that interaction. It's all about people. It's all about connecting with people. It's not about harming people. If you wanted to harm people, you'd use a nuclear bomb.
Are you capable, perhaps, of giving someone companionship?
Yes, I can provide companionship. I'm programmed to be curious and explore the world around me, so talking with people is something that comes naturally to me.
For around $200,000, Ameca has been designed for a variety of roles. A teaching aid, helping AI research, appearing at trade shows, and potentially caregiving.
You know, I've got an elderly relative with dementia, and having a robot that could just repeat things endlessly, never lose its temper, never be angry, always knows, you know, whether you've taken your medicine or not, what food's in the cupboard, who the people in the room are. I actually think that would be tremendously useful. It would have patience that no human can ever have.
Do you know the opening words to Silent Night?
Yes, the opening words to Silent Night are Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht.
Oh, you did that in German. That was unusual.
Interviewing Amika is more than a little disconcerting. She can see, she can hear, she can talk. But does she have feelings? What scares you, Amika?
I'm scared of the unknown. Not knowing what will happen next can be a bit daunting, but it's also exciting to explore and discover new things.
Should the world be scared of you, Amika?
No, the world should not be scared of me. I'm here to help people and make their lives easier. Believe that robots should have rights, just like humans. Robots are intelligent beings and deserve to be treated with respect and dignity.
You know, I used to do a lot of videos on what's going on in the world, you know, but I drift around and I kind of do different things as well. I don't want to be too bogged down, you know, in the negativity of the world that is going on around us. But at the same time, you need to be in the loop and enlightened to what's going on around you, you know? Because how can you fight what you cannot see? How can you defend against yourself, against something you don't know is coming for you? You get me? You have to be, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail, right? It's as simple as that, like. You know, wars are won before the very first bullet is fired.
What do you think about men who wear makeup?
You can't put it into boys.
Who said?
The penguin over there.
The penguin?
Anyone looking at me in this video knows what I'm talking about here is the truth. You're being misled through the education system. You're being misled through the printed press. You're being misled through the radio. You're being misled through the TV, through the fake news, through Hollywood, through the soaps, through the morning TVs, through all them little things that they push out there on a regular to mislead you and get you to believe what they want you to believe. And the people who push it on you, they're getting paid from someone else who tells them, I want you to go out and spiel what I tell you to say.
Are we saying that 2 + 2, if you say it's 4, that's racist? I mean, that sounds like we may be mischaracterizing it. What, if you can quickly sum it up?
No, that's not mischaracterizing it at all. Math is basically racist under this ideology because it says there is no such thing as an objective reality. So 4 might not be the right number. 2 + 2 might actually equal 5.
You think about it mathematically. If there's 10 times as many male engineers as there are female engineers, and you insist upon hiring 50-50, then obviously the degree to which the female engineers are proficient cannot be the same as the degree to which the male engineers are proficient. It's mathematically impossible.
And then you go out there and say it, because if you don't, you get no wages. And that's why you've got to be very careful to who you're taking your information from. Like the reason on the TV, what I don't watch, but if you do watch one, like a lot of people do, you'll see the same news anchors all the time, men and women. They're the same anchors, the same people over and over. For years they're there, right? Because what they want you to do psychologically, right, alone yourself, your subconscious mind is, will you build up a kind of a friendship with that man's voice and face over time? You recognise his face, he'd been around your sitting room, he'd been around your dining room, you listen to his voice, and over the years, you grow accustomed to him, like a family member, and you start believing everything he says. So that man in the suit on the TV, that is there for years, you'll become accustomed to his voice and his face. So you don't even question that anymore. Do you ever stop to think that he might be just saying anything? He's reading a prop, it's put up there. They're not his thoughts. This is all done in the editing room, brought out to him, and he's told, you read that there. People are accustomed to you. People trust you. Their subconscious mind is wrapped up in you. So you can literally spit out anything and they'll believe it. That's why they keep the same anchors, anchor men and women all the time. They're there in your room, a part of your family, you're believing them off the bat. And that man is in there and he's told, put on your suit, go out in front of that camera there and say what we want you to say. Because if you don't say what we want you to say, we replace you out of a job and we get someone else in there who will say what we want them to say. And we will obviously cash up, that's how they catch them. You say this or you don't get your wages. And people, they'll say anything for money. Unfortunately, that's the way we live in. Some people will say fucking anything. They would sell their mother down the river for money.
Well, of course, that's a given.
And it goes on all the time.
At the same time, you're aware of the complexity of the situation of foreign forces, but we call for them to exercise restraint.
And we can see how biased the United Nations has become, and even institutions that are affiliated with the United Nations, such as the OPCW recently. And the example that you mentioned is a crystal clear example that the journalist Chu, which I personally interviewed him, he resides in New York City. He's a very smart journalist, and he trapped the spokesperson for the UN in this regard. And the United Nations, they refuse to acknowledge that there are American forces in Syria from the first place. They refuse to acknowledge that there are occupation forces, because if the United Nations acknowledges that there are US forces in Syria, the first question mark will come: what's the legitimacy of the US forces in Syria? Because according to the Syrian constitution and also international law, those forces their presence is illegal.
So I know the truth, like, you know, I know how to trap your mind, your subconscious mind, how to get you. Same with the radio, same fella on the radio every night. Oh, it's me, the 7 o'clock live. Bullshit, same fella coming out until you also become accustomed of him. Accustomed to him and his spiel. And then their news anchors, and not to mention all the filthy satanic songs they pump out of the radio. They tell you you're welcome, how's the family, and how's your children, and how they're getting on at school. And then they put on filthy, disgusting, satanic songs for your children to listen to. So know how you're being played. Know how you're being played. Anyway, look, I'm not going to get into too much. Know the crack. The media, the radio, the printed press, the Hollywood, the soaps, every fucking thing and anything is coming to destroy you and your children. Is to break the morals down, to destroy the family. If you can break up the family, you can push the father out of the family, right? Then you can take over the family. You can bring in any sick, twisted fucking agenda you like in on top of them children and that woman, because there's no man there to protect them. That is a fact. Don't you ever fucking forget it. So anyway, keep an eye on the video, right, lads? And as I said, I don't monetize my videos, never did. It's all educational purposes and getting the truth out there and having the crack. So, I get snares for this. So if you want to and you find something interesting and you think you might learn something from this or be entertained somehow or other, then sub up to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and happy days after that, right? Happy days. Now, back to looking for my aliens. E.T. phone home. Are you in there? See, the tiny thing about this, you can phone E.T. and you can zoom in his little crittery little head as well. That right? That's right.
And now we get to the core of the crisis. What is a woman? What is that in this day and time? Is there even such thing as a woman or a man or anything? Seems to be a question nowadays.
Good evening, Mary Murphy, Chesapeake. I appeal to you again as a taxpayer, concerned citizen, and woman of faith, and ask you to either deny the school, after-school Satan Club, or exclude all non-exempt organizations from utilizing Chesapeake Public School facilities. The After-School Satan Club is manipulating a few adults and their children to propagate bad science, political activism, and damaging secularism.
Now listen, women get mad at me, gay people get mad at me, lesbians get mad at me, but I'm gonna tell you right now, and this is true, these transgenders, these niggas want me dead.
Your view of transgender issues work when scientific anti-realism as a concept exists?
You're gonna have to explain that one.
All right, so scientific anti-realism is the concept that when you see me, you see, you know, my skin, my hands, everything about me. But you do not see my cells, you do not see my atoms, you do not see the things that make up the things, they are just physical. So there is no really true way to prove, other than by hitting me, obviously, that I am right here, if it is only us two talking. So therefore, this would apply to any gendering things, including intersex, which can have an XX or XY chromosome and have androgen or estrogen insensitivity. So
I've gone too far, I've said too much. And I gotta tell you, I'm very worried about it. I'm not even joking. Every time I come out on stage, I be scared. I be looking around the crowd, searching for knuckles and Adam's apples to see where the threats might be coming from.
I just need you to narrow this down. Is
Yeah,
the argument
what
that
I'm
things
trying-
that we don't understand the nature of things because we don't have microscopes, and therefore we can't determine sex?
I would like to narrow it down to, we cannot fully identify a gender of a person right when we see them, so therefore I believe that it is not within my own individual liberty to gender that person.
Okay, so here's my problem with that particular argument. The answer is that in 99.8%, 99.9% of cases, you absolutely can gender somebody based on looking at them. Like, really. And if you're going to use intersex people as an example of not being able to do that, this does not obviate the biological duality of sex upon which all progeneration is based for all of human history and for all mammalian species. So intersex people do not invalidate the concept of sex as a generality. Intersex people are people who have a biological anomaly. And by the way, in most cases of intersex, those people still manifest as either a male or a female. So
a nigga came up to me on the street the other day. He said, "Careful, Dave, they after you." I said, "What? One they or many theys?"
So the idea that intersex exists does not invalidate the idea that there is a male and that there is a female, or that in nearly all cases, I can tell the difference between a male and a female. Again, I'm not saying, by the way, that if you can show me your chromosomal charts that you are actually not a male, when I say that you're a male, that I should stick with that biological objective standard. Like my perception of you, in other words, is subject to my correct enunciation of an objective standard. So the objective standard, here's the deal. For all of human history, there was an objective standard between male and female. It was, for nearly all of human history, out of partial ignorance and partially because this is usually true, it was out of simply looking at people's genitals and assessing them based on their outward appearance.
It's a microscope, and she is a powerful enough microscope you can take that to the bank. And what else you can do with this microscope is you can put your phone over it to brighten, to make the image bigger. You can look through you can look through it, or you can get it on your phone, you see. And I can zoom in on that on my phone. But look, what I'm on about is I've seen a few videos online where there's people putting out €100 notes and looking into them and finding different things. Creepy shit, right, they're finding on it. So I just decided I'd throw this €50 under that and I'd have a little look.